You're watching the RickVanMan channel on YouTube.
Hey guys, this is Rick. I hope everyone's having a great day. As you can see, we're back at the allotment again today. Now this one should be slightly interesting. We've got things to talk about like copper, nematodes, and I'm even going to feed my worms today. Do I feel another highlight of the week coming on? Maybe not. But right, slugs. First of all, I want to say big thanks to everybody who gave me lots of ideas on how to tackle my slug problem. I seriously do have a slug problem here. I've just checked down the side of my polytunnel and every single one of my sunflower seeds that were really looking great have all been eaten. There's also signs of my broad beans being eaten and all sorts of other things that are just starting to come through. I can see lots of bits are being nibbled on. Now, I did weigh up quite considerably what to do about it. I had lots of suggestions for sinking little pots into the ground, filling them with beer. I was kind of thinking along those lines, but I thought it's going to be a little bit high maintenance, plus the fact we got the rain all the time, so I'd have to be sort of coming back every day and topping it up. And what a waste of beer! So it kind of didn't sit that well with me. I did try the copper tape that arrived, and it's really naff. It's so thin, it's self-adhesive. What I was hoping to do was make some little circular bits. Like so, maybe even double them up in size and then sit those around my seedlings, but of course slugs, they can go under the ground, they actually go under the earth, so the only thing these are actually going to be any good for is sticking around pots to stop slugs crossing them over, and even then you're going to have to use a double band of this because this just isn't thick enough. And if you actually peel off the plastic backing, this stuff is so thin. It's just it's just like foil. You just can't really do a lot with it apart from stick it onto a pot, you know, all the way around. So to be honest, that really sort of rules out the copper in any major way, especially for a site this size. It's just going to be too impractical. So somebody suggested, or a number of people suggested, something called nematodes, and I'd never heard of them before. They all sounded a bit sort of far out and sort of out there and probably didn't work very well. But I did some research, did some digging around, and apparently nematodes are actually very, very, very effective. They are essentially the nuclear deterrent for worms, for slugs. And what nematodes are these little microscopic worms, and what you do is you kind of put them all over your patch, and for the next 6 weeks they will seek out and destroy any slugs, and they're completely naturally occurring, so it's like a very, very natural process. Wildlife, birds, insects, things like that don't get harmed in the process. So after kind of weighing everything up, I decided I'm going to go for a product called Nemoslug, which is this one. I got this is basically about 100 meters actually, and this is the 100-meter pack. What you've got here is there's basically I can't remember how many million it said. It was like a huge number of living organisms, nematodes, and what you do is you just pour some of those into a watering can, and then you just water all over your garden, and then chuck a bit of water over the top of them, and you're basically covered for 6 weeks. And it wasn't particularly cheap. That's the only downside. These weren't that I think I paid about 18 or 19 pounds for this, but so looking at say 20 quid for 6 weeks protection from slugs. That's, I don't know, I think we'll have to see how effective it is, but to me that payoff seems not horrendous. It's not, like I say, it's not the cheapest solution, but it doesn't seem horrendous. So I suppose what I need to do is get on and give it a go. So I'll read the instructions and then I'll get cracking. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, got to divide this into eighths, and I'm got to use it all in one go. So there are 30 million of them in here, so that's quite a lot of the little critters. Let's just hope they do their job, because I ain't spending any more on sorting these slugs out. If this doesn't fix it, I don't know what will. Right then. Yummy dessert spoon. Okay, so I'm going to cut it into approximate eighths, so we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each one of those will be a watering can's worth of stuff, so I basically get 8 shots at it. Funny stuff, it's a bit like breadcrumbs but really fine. Right, that'll do about 2/3 of the polytunnel. And I've just got to fill that with, I think they said 8 litres of water. Now this is a 10 litre watering can, so I don't fill it up quite so full. And then I'll go and water. There we go, that is the last portion, just going in now, and hopefully, fingers crossed, that's going to take care of all of my slug problems for the next 6 weeks. I'm not entirely 100% convinced that's the case, but I guess there's only one way to find these things out, so that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So there we go, that's the nematodes all down. I hopefully, fingers crossed, will now have a slug-free environment for the next 6 weeks. It's going to take about a week for them to kind of really get going before the slugs basically stop feeding. So I'm just going to give it a week. I'm going to need at least another week anyway, just to let the ground dry out. We're still getting the April showers, so hopefully the timing will just be right. Of course, the other thing is I've just been informed by my allotment neighbours that they were up here the other day and they actually saw what was taking my sunflowers. He first described them as big grey feathery slugs. Wasn't quite sure what he meant until he named them pigeons. Apparently it was the pigeons that nicked my sunflower seeds, or at least that's what they saw happening. But there again, when I do look at the leaves of the sunflowers, the one that have been nibbled, they definitely look like kind of slug nibbles. So hopefully the pigeon thing was just a coincidence or a one-off. Hopefully, because I really, if pigeons are going to start pulling out everything from the ground, I don't know how to deal with that. Somehow I don't think slug pellets are going to do any good. Maybe a 12 bore or something. We'll see. Anyway, right, what I need to do now is get on and feed my worms. Joy! Okay, let's go check it out. Right then, what we have here is our worm farm. We have a bunch of kitchen scraps from the kitchen, and what I've done this time is I've avoided putting any citrus fruit in there, because apparently it makes the environment acidic, which the worms don't like. So I think the most acidic thing I've got in there is a bit of onion, but it's things like banana skins and cabbage and sort of stuff like that. So that's fine. What I'm going to do is just take the lid off here, and I've got another compartment. I've just put some soil in it, and I'm going to just put that on top. Now the soil will hopefully encourage the worms to come up through, and then what I'm going to do is put the kitchen scraps in there. There we go. And what they say, if you want to keep the flies down, is to cover that with paper. I've left it back at the van. There we go, this is just standard shredded paper from a paper shredder. I'm just going to cover that over, and that'll keep the flies down, but it'll also help to keep the environment less acidic for the worms, apparently. I might just give that a little bit of water, that's just to soften it all down. Not a lot, that's it. and then we'll put the lid on, and then hopefully we're good for another few weeks. I'll check back on that in a few weeks' time, but hopefully they'll be happy as Larry in there. No worm tea yet. Cool. Now all that's left for me to do today, I believe, is just to take care of all of this stuff. This is I have no idea what any of this is. It's all coming up quite thick and fast, and I'm just going to run the hoe over it just to take care of it. The lettuce are all looking really happy. Now the tomatoes, that one seems to be recovering from its ordeal that it had with the frost. That one's fairly small but still looking like it's recovering, but that one's looking a bit unhappy. So I've got a load of tomato plants at home now. They're still quite small at the moment, but when the time comes to transplant them, if these haven't made an improvement, then I'm going to yank them out and put a new set in. Same goes for the courgettes. I've got two smashing looking courgettes, really looking good, and then I've got one there that's it just doesn't quite cut it. It's not quite there yet. So problem is these ones aren't any better. These are courgettes, but they're just not any happier. So I'm not sure what I'll do there. Again, it's just a question of time and waiting. But everywhere you look, I've just got green plants coming through, and it's not grass, which is interesting, but it's just obviously some sort of plants. I have no idea what, but all I'm going to do is rub the hoe over them, and then hopefully that'll take care of them, or just keep them down to a minimum. Same for all that. So a quick look outside while I'm here. Very little to report really, apart from the radish starting to take shape now, starting to look good. Let me tilt this camera back a bit, it's a bit easier. Radish are definitely growing, and also the broccoli are definitely on their way. So I should have at least, sorry, not broccoli, Brussels sprouts. So if nothing else, I should have a really healthy crop of Brussels sprouts. Also the this stuff, the broad beans, they're all really coming on now. Some of them being eaten still, but again I'm hoping the nematodes are going to now take care of that issue. And potatoes are all again starting to do their thing. More and more are coming up each time I visit now. We've got 1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4. Right then, that's really all there is to report. Apart from that, very little change from the last video. But hopefully that's been quite an interesting video, especially with the nematodes thing, and maybe even the worms. So I guess I'll sign off now, and I'll get back to you when there's more to report. Have a great week, whatever you do, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.